And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzogoose, finally back here with another comic review after a long hiatus of doing these. So, the first book that I am going to review as I come back to the world of reviewing is Wolverines #1, the first issue of the new weekly series from Marvel Comics. This book is written by Charles Soule, art by Nick Bradshaw, and basically the story follows Mystique, Sabretooth, Daken, and X-23, who are teaming up with 5 other people, and they're going back to Paradise where Wolverine was killed to recover something. The other 5 people are test subjects from Dr. Abraham Cornelius. It's Shogun, Neuro, Endo, Skell, and Junk. And, they're kind of generic characters, each with different abilities or whatever, but they're all dying. They have no healing factor and they need something. So they've worked out this deal with the other guys. And I'm obviously not going to give too much away. It's kind of obvious what they're going after. They're going after Wolverine's body. So that's kind of where things are headed. But I will say there is some interference and some unexpected consequences for their particular quest this time. So, as far as the issue goes, it was okay. It's okay. Let me start by saying that I'm a huge fan of Charles Soule. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but I'm a huge fan of his writing. I think there's only been one thing that I've read of his that I've not thoroughly enjoyed. I've enjoyed his runs on various things. I loved Death of Wolverine. I really enjoyed his Swamp Thing run. I've enjoyed some of his DC stuff, some of his Marvel stuff. The only other thing I can think of that I wasn't a huge fan of was the Thunderbolts. I went into this knowing that he wrote this book, and I was like excited because I'm a fan of his writing. Unfortunately, in this in this particular book, I felt like a lot of characters were out of character. Daken's voice did not seem like Daken to me. Sabretooth seemed a lot more sympathetic and fatherly than he should be. Mystique just seemed kind of there. She just existed. And X-23 seemed a lot more sappy than she should be. I'm used to these characters in a different light. I'm used to X-23 from the all-new X-Men and from Avengers Arena and from other things where she is very standoffish. She's very hard to get to know. She's disconnected with the world, and I didn't get any of that from her in this book. Daken is this sarcastic, flamboyant kind of character, and he was none of this. He was very emotional in this book. Sabretooth, obviously, he's the villain here. He's vile. He's evil. He's, sadistic, and you didn't get any of that here. And Mystique is, everybody knows Mystique is, she's always playing every side of an angle, and she's very deceptive and all this, and I didn't get that from her. And these other 5 characters, I just don't care about them. There was nothing to make me care about these 5 characters at all. Even the fact that they were dying, I just didn't really care. So that was my problem with the book. It didn't seem like anybody was in character, and I realized that X-23 and Daken, they're only, 10 years old on X-23 maybe. Daken a little bit younger than that. Obviously their characters are older, but they've only been around, for a certain amount of time. So I know that, okay, maybe their voice isn't quite as established, but X-23 especially has been very established. Daken was very established during the aftermath of Civil War and Siege and all that stuff, and I felt like I didn't know these characters. These could have been any characters in the entire comic universe, and you just throw them in a book, and it just did not feel. I didn't feel their personalities throughout the story, unfortunately. The art also was not the best I've seen Nick Bradshaw draw. Nick Bradshaw is a very talented artist. I love a lot of his cover work, and there's a couple of pages that are one style, and then it kind of shifts a little bit, and it's not quite as, it's not quite as polished as earlier pages in the book. And I just felt like it wasn't his best work. It was like, okay, I'm gonna draw this, but it's not. I'm not putting my heart and soul into it. And I'm not saying that he didn't. I don't want to. I don't want to assume that, because who am I to say that he didn't? But it feels like I didn't feel his full capacity on the page, unfortunately, this time around, for whatever reason. It is a weekly book. They're on a tighter schedule. I'm not sure if it's the same creative team from week to week, but that could be a factor. So, I don't know, what happened here, what fell off, what they can do to correct it. I hope they are able to correct it, especially with a weekly book. But for a first issue, if it wasn't for the payoff at the end of the issue, which was very dramatic and something that I was not expecting, this would be just another issue of another book. With that ending, if I felt like it was enough to say, hey, if you do care about this character, you want to come back and see what's going on. Why is this happening to this character? What's going on with the story from here? And there is the whole Wolverine's body. What do they need that for? And all this stuff. So it's very interesting in that regard. It just the characters were off. It wasn't that the script was bad. It wasn't that the dialogue was bad. Little cheesy in a few places. It almost felt a little bit like New Mutants or Avengers, or not Avengers Academy, but X-Men Academy. It felt like that a little bit at times. But yeah, it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't the best work from either the writer or artist that I've personally seen, and that was a little bit disappointing for me, and it took a little bit of my enjoyment out of the issue for me, especially being the first issue of a weekly series from Marvel, which, that had me excited because it's, had me excited and dreading because it's $3.99 an issue, which is a lot for a weekly book, but it still had me excited. So that's my take on Wolverines #1. I'm gonna give this book a 3 out of 5. So, will I check out the next issue? Probably one more. If it doesn't turn around for me and it doesn't grab me, it's just I can't. Not with a weekly book. So, one more issue you got, guys, and hopefully you knock it out of the park. So for this one, it's a 3 out of 5 for Wolverines #1. Don't forget to check out all the other reviews and videos and content that we have right here on Comic Frontline, as we update pretty much every day. And check out Frontline Gaming Zone, where we are starting this week posting almost daily videos over there as well. And I'm personally doing a Batman Arkham Origins walkthrough, and we've got a bunch of other stuff on there now and coming up in the future, so tune into that. Of course, check out comicrelated.com for even more comic news, reviews, podcasts, and so much more, as well as comicfrontline.com, both together your #1 source for all your comic news, reviews, podcasts, and so much more. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.